Hey everyone, it's Wingspan TT, and if you're watching, you know what time it is. No, it's not time for a normal Assassin's Creed 3 video, it's time for top tier tutoring, and let me just explain myself. You see, one of the top tier tactics staff, and expert gamer Xiant, also known as Xiant the Terrible or Xiant the Terrible Squirrel, has made it his quest to learn how to play Assassin's Creed 3 multiplayer. He'd ultimately like to be as good as me. Of course, we know that's not going to happen, but anyway, he stomped me in other games before, in Counter-Strike and other games, so I know he has a lot of intrinsic skill. But of course, as we know, Assassin's Creed 3 multiplayer is very, very different from most other video games, and I love it for its strategic depth and just the entire way it's structured. Anyway, as I watched him streaming his first several hours of gameplay, I began to realize that just giving him some tips over email or anything like that wasn't going to fix everything. I also realized by watching him and his videos that there are just so many things that a new player to Assassin's Creed multiplayer just doesn't understand. Things that I overlook because in my own videos I just basically assume certain things because I've been playing Assassin's Creed since Revelations and Brotherhood, and there's just so many tips and so many new player mindset things that I just completely overlook. So with Xiant's permission, I decided to do a second-by-second critique of his footage so that he and other new players can get on-the-spot knowledge about what they're doing wrong and how they can kind of up their game, just get better Assassin's Creed multiplayer. And to help things further, I've cut the gameplay speed by 50% so that there's enough time to dissect every terrible, terrible decision. So without further ado, let's jump into the gameplay, see how Xiant played, and see how we can all learn from both his triumphs and his mistakes. As we start the video, we see that it's already about 50 seconds into the match, and Xiant has 300 points, so I'm going to assume that for some reason or another, he started recording late, or the video got clipped off, something happened earlier, a kill, a stun, chases, something happened, and now there are 9 minutes left on the clock. And as Xiant he's in first place, and he starts making his approach here. We see he has wipe, I know for a fact he has disguise, and he is playing wanted, he's moving around the corner, and we should be able to see right there in slow motion that Xiant 13 is actually the last pioneer in the blend group. We saw that his line of sight meter went off as she rounded the corner, the last one in the group. Now, of course, if he didn't see that, he does have wipe, which would reveal characters, right? But we see him locking on here. He has correctly identified Xiant 13, and here's a big mistake, 2 mistakes. One is he moves far too close before hitting assassinate, before clicking the left mouse button. Really, when you approach someone, you should always be spamming assassinate, spam, 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 kill, kill, kill. And the reason is because you won't get a clean kill unless you're at the maximum range. Here, this is clearly his pursuer. She just walked through a chase breaker. She's walking directly at him. He walks right into her with no attempt to run away and gets stabbed. What I was saying before, the second mistake he made with the throwing knives is, of course, he didn't need to use the throwing knives to kill Xiant. He used the throwing knives, he didn't even get a clean kill, and then once he used them, he was completely defenseless. If he had saved his throwing knives, yes, maybe he would have gotten a kill worth fewer points, or maybe Xiant would have ran away, but at least it would force her to do that, and he'd have a means of defending himself against his killer, the Lady Maverick. So using those abilities when you don't need to use them is a huge mistake. Here we have him walking through chase breakers, and again, chase breakers typically identify a player. The reason is that 9 times out of 10, NPCs will not walk through chase breakers. Now, another problem that Xiant made here, he used his disguise, and while disguises are great and all, he used his disguise when he knew for a fact that Xiant 13 could already see him. So if she was looking backwards while she was walking, she knows that he is not the Montebank. She knows that he's another player. She knows that for some reason this player is disguising while he's walking towards her. So for all that she knows, she probably knows that he's her killer. The other problem is that he uses disguise again. It's mainly a defensive ability. He could have used it to protect himself against his pursuer. He's got exactly one pursuer. We see from Sixth Sense is behind her. Now, what if he had disguise now? He could have ran through his chase breaker, right? Activate his disguise, and then come around the corner. Now he has wipe, which reveals players, but instead he chooses to randomly kill an NPC. He's going to kill a civilian and get stunned. He could have used wipe to reveal which character was actually his pursuer, but instead he is going to reveal himself, kill the wrong character, and of course by revealing himself, he reveals himself to his target and to his pursuer. So basically he didn't use disguise at the right time. He used it when it was too late and also at a really awkward time period. And then he could have used wipe. Wipe would have revealed his target, so he would have known which character to kill. And it would have also, you know, prevented his target and his pursuers from using abilities. So it's very possible that that throwing knives that just crippled him wouldn't have even hit him if he used wipe, because his pursuer would not have had access to her abilities. Here we see again Maxim 587, just like a Maxim model, looking with that swagger, walking out there. We see her walking in the background. Xiant is correctly identifying her. I could tell just by the way he's moving. He can tell she's just moved here. His controls get a little sloppy. Accidentally climbing up here. You have to be careful with the controls. I know he's playing on PC, so he doesn't have analog movement controls. And he gets the lock here. But again, using throwing knives just to slow her down. Now he's going to run in here. But look what happens again. He used the throwing knives. Now he's defenseless. He could have used the throwing knives here on his pursuer, on the Pioneer. Instead, he's going to go for a naked stun and get incredibly lucky to get this naked stun. That is something you cannot count on. That's something that only happened, all right, because the Pioneer, or whatever the hell her name is, was just being incredibly sloppy. That's just something that just typically does not happen. And again, he could have just ran up to both of them, used wipe, you know, used the knife, stunned his pursuer, and then killed the Lady Maverick, knowing that she couldn't use any abilities. Worst case scenario, she runs away. And again, going through the chase breakers here in high profile gives you away. Another problem I see is that Xiant is not making a lot of effort to blend. There's a blend group immediately in front of him with 3 copies of him, and he's playing as the Huntsman, my favorite. He could just be quickly moving into this blend group right in front of him. Now there's 2 copies of him in that blend group, but now he's just standing in the middle of the room. All right, here's extra copies, more copies. And he could be mingling with the copies, but instead he's out in completely broad open, running in high profile, going into his chase breaker, which I understand he's trying to get to Sir Sal, but that blend group was moving towards her. He could have gotten into the blend group, and now look, she can tell that he's the pursuer. She's freaking out. She's running away. If he were in that blend group, he would have gotten a hidden, possibly full incognito kill on her right around now, because the blend group's going. Now he used his disguise, but remember, she knows exactly where he is because he just ran into this chase breaker. So she knows where he is. I'm not going to be surprised. You can see on the compass, she's clearly somewhere in the 3 o'clock position, but he kills a civilian instead. And here she comes around. Of course, that's where she was. That's where she was the whole time. She didn't have time to make it around the corner. Now, of course, if you make it around the corner, you're not sure who your pursuer is. I mean, who your target is. The best thing you could do is just not kill anyone. Taking a random guess like that is going to leave you stunned. It's going to lose you points. And I'm just going to guess right now that Pocahontas right behind him, and Independent, is his killer, because she's walking directly at him. All right, she's walking directly at him. Look, she's still walking right at him. Here we go, and it is his killer. The other problem was that there's only 4 players in the game: the Lady Maverick, all right, the Pioneer, and the Independent. So if you see one of those 3 personas walking right at you, you have to at least be suspicious. And of course, if you're not sure, again, he still hasn't used wipe. He could have used wipe when he rounded that corner. He wasn't sure if the Pioneer was the correct target. He could have used wipe to make sure. He could have used wipe right then, and guess what? If the Independents start glowing, you would know for a fact that she's a player and that she's probably your pursuer. Here in high profile, a little too long. Now, of course, Sir Sal 13 is going to know that you're a pursuer. Of course, she also has an ineffectual disguise. Totally ineffectual here. Xiant calls her out on it, takes first place with 1850 points. Alright, fine. But here's the thing. You hear the whispers. You see you save this character. If you hear the whispers that much, you just got to jet. If you don't know who your pursuer is, you have to jet. And I don't see him moving into a blend group. I don't see why he doesn't try to get into a blend group, try to find a duplicate somewhere and just try to get refuge, or just try to get in a position, turn the camera around where he can see his pursuer. Climbing up on the rooftop is a bad idea when you know that your pursuer is on the opposite side of this building. For all you know, they're standing on top of this rooftop waiting to get an aerial or acrobat kill on you, to get a grab kill on you. And here is going to be a big miss. Xiant sees that his target is in this blend group, and he just fails the lock, locking on wrong. Just, you cannot tap lock. If you hold the lock button, your accuracy with locking will be a lot more accurate. He sees his target, which has to be the most frustrating goddamn thing in the world, that he is not getting this lock. I know he's cursing himself here. And right now he could get tons of points if he could lock. And again, failing the lock, you have to hold the lock button. This applies to PC and console. Finally, he gets the lock, right? And what he needs to do is run out to his ledge right now. Run out to the ledge. But say he throws the throwing knives. He gets to the wrong ledge. He needs to get out on that little lamppost. And by the time he gets on the lamppost, she is now too far out. She knows exactly who he is. He no longer has any real discretion. He moves in for a silent kill. But because he rolled in, he's too close and she can contest the kill. So once again, if you want the throwing knives to guarantee you a clean kill, you have to spam kill for maximum range. This applies to stuns too. If you want to stun someone with throwing knives, that's great. You throw the throwing knives, you approach quickly, but as you approach maximum stun range or maximum kill range, you have to spam the assassination or kill button, so that as soon as you're at the exact apex, the maximum stun and kill range, you execute the killer stun. Here we have Xiant. You know, he's playing cool. That's fine. I would have appreciated if he was in the blend group with his duplicate right there on the right at 3 o'clock. There was a duplicate. There's no reason he shouldn't have been in that blend group instead, because that blend group would have afforded him a significant amount more safety. If someone came around the corner, if his pursuer came around the corner, they would have to pause for a second, not be absolutely sure which one is him. And that could buy him enough time to run away. It could buy him enough time. He could possibly get a lure. Here we see him again running up on the rooftops. There's no reason for him to really believe this target's within sight. Now his target can tell who he is, right? Because he's exposed himself. He's up on a rooftop in high profile. And of course his pursuer knows who he is because he's up on the rooftop in high profile. And no surprise, Lady Maverick comes down for the aerial kill. Just sticking that knife in his neck. Now he's still in first place, but look at his opponents. Level 7, level 7, level 5. Nothing against them. They're playing smart. I haven't seen them make any incredibly stupid decisions so far. But Xiant has exposed himself for no reason. There's no reason to go on the roof when you're not absolutely sure that you're going to be getting an aerial or acrobatic kill on someone. It exposes you. It makes it obvious to your pursuer who you are. And of course, if they walk too far from the roof, your only option is to jump down in high profile, which is going to decrease your approach meter and make you really obvious to both your target and your pursuers. Here, Xiant needs to start turning the camera sooner so he can look around the corner before he actually gets around it. He's using disguise. No real reason to use disguise, but of course he's in disguise now. He could work up a silent bonus. There's no real reason for Maxim to know that he's the killer, but instead of taking advantage of disguise, he could have gotten a silent focus kill. Because nothing against Maxim, but she probably wouldn't know that Xiant was a pursuer because he's using disguise. He's not doing anything, actually that would just give him away. But he didn't take advantage of this, guys, and he still hasn't used wipe a single time in the match. What if he came around the corner and she did know that he was a pursuer, right? And she just knifed him and then stunned him. So the fact that he's not using wipe is another thing. You have to use your abilities. I'm not saying spam them. I'm not saying use them on cooldown, but look for opportunities to use them, because if you end the match and you haven't used your abilities, then that's a huge mistake. Now here, Xiant is playing smart. He's got a pursuer. He's in a blend group with 2 copies. The blend group is walking towards where his target is, so that's good. And it looks really slow because I am playing this at 50% speed, but this was a good approach. The problem here is, of course, at this point, he has no pursuers. There's no real reason to play too much safe, but he's hoping that his target will walk towards him, which is a big hope considering how far away she is. And you always have to measure caution with the payoff. Now, while you're in a blend group, your discretion meter is going to fill more quickly. Here he hits silent. He's hoping now. This is looking good, right? Sir Sal's walking directly towards him. If I were Sir Sal, I would be just running for my life if I hear the whispers like this. Of course, she doesn't know who it's going to be, but there's a good reason to suspect if you see a big blend group walking towards you and the whispers are getting really, really loud, that someone in that group is your pursuer. And if you don't know who it is, you should run for your life. Now look at this. Look at his kill. Really good kill. 1,050 points. Easily the best kill of this match. Didn't have to use any abilities. And again, not wasting abilities when you don't have to use them. Don't use your abilities when you don't need to. But, if there's time periods where you're absolutely not sure who your target is, or you think your target might try to play a trick on you, you need to jet. Now here, he gets out of the hay bale. I'm not exactly sure why. I guess he's going after Neo 40 Roos, or however the hell you'd pronounce that name. But again, going up to the roof, even though he must know for a fact that Neo 40 Roos is not directly on the other side of the roof. And here, so he's basically just exposing himself. We see Neo walking into the gazebo. She's trying to go somewhere romantic. And now Xiant is forced to just come down this roof, making himself absolutely obvious to his two pursuers. He has two pursuers. And when you have two pursuers and one target, if you think you can get to the target and get a good kill, fine. But, you have to be absolutely careful. Here, using throwing knives, throwing away his only means of defense, walking towards Neo 40 Roos, which he might get a decent kill, but just not making good progress, just being a little too careful about his pursuers at this point. He's trying to get the silent or incognito bonus, but of course she's going to turn around now and knife him. And is she going to get a clean stun? She gets a little too close, so she only gets an honorable death, but she could have gotten a stun. So once again, the approach, you have to either choose between a stealthy approach, alright, or a high profile approach. You cannot do things like jump off a rooftop, run up to someone, throw throwing knives at them, and then try to get an incognito kill. It's not going to happen. And of course, as you face higher level players, they're going to have things like smoke bomb, they're going to have resilience and resistance, they're going to recover from things a lot faster. You have to watch out for that. Similarly, right, you cannot, if you approach them really stealthily, you're about to hit incognito, they have no clue who you are, there's no reason to just run up to them and kill them and get a discreet kill. This was a good approach. He had line of sight blocking due to this horse-drawn buggy or carriage or whatever you want to call this. Here he's trying to pretend he's not Neo 40 Roos' pursuer, but he really should probably be considering going counterclockwise. He's now slapping on disguise, hoping that she's not going to fall for it. But if she saw where he is, then she knows that he's somewhere back there. So he's now trying to make a discreet approach. It looks like she's dropping a money bomb, fearing that there's some kind of people there. She's trying to blend in a group. And if I were Xiant, I would have locked onto her far before this. He does not lock on, and it's very possible that if she threw a decoy or something like that, that he would have accidentally killed it. So locking on when you're making your approach is also a good idea. Here he's hearing whispers. He has no clue where his pursuer is. The whispers are coming. You need to jet. If you have no defensive abilities and you know your pursuer is close, you need to run for the nearest chase breakers, run for a rooftop, run for a hidden blend group somewhere, because you know your killer is absolutely close. And odds are they know who you are. And here we see a person walking straight through the chase breaker. Surprise, surprise, it's your killer. Like I've said before, NPCs more like 90% of the time will not go through Chasebreaker. It is possible for NPCs to go through Chasebreakers. Decoys, bodyguards can walk through Chasebreakers. It's possible if you bump an NPC, you push them, that their normal pathing will get changed, and they'll decide to walk through a Chasebreaker to get back on their pathing. But most of the time, if you see a person, especially if they're a persona that matches one of the personas of players in a match, it's probably your pursuer or your target or just another player. So just keep that in mind. Here we see him going after Sir Sal. He's in first place, and I have to question, again, just going after Sir Sal here. He's walking into this area where there's so many obstructions of his view. He can't see what's going on. No, there's no whispers. He's going through chase breakers, but he's leaving himself so vulnerable. Sixth sense is going off, and this is the part where he has to clear himself, get ready to throw the throwing knives and get the stun. Okay, or at least sit down on this bench next to your double so that when she comes around the corner, she won't know who you are. He gets a stun, but again, this is just luck. It's just luck from this player being new. This will not work on better players. Better players, like I said, are going to be spamming, assassinate. They're going to spam it. You're not going to beat them to the stun. Here, his meter's going up. She's clearly somewhere to the right. He doesn't know where. And he has, again, Xiant has wipe, and wipe reveals players. And if he doesn't like wipe, if he doesn't like the skill, then he should swap wipe out. And this is really unfortunate. She gets the chain on him, stunning him and killing him. He should switch to another ability set or change his ability set so that wipe is something like money bomb or firecrackers if he's having trouble identifying players. And don't be ashamed. I know a lot of the pros are like, don't use firecrackers or money bombs for noobs or whatever. But if the ability helps you win the game, then use it. If you're having trouble dealing with that kind of thing, with these blend groups or people using disguises, then use something to reveal them. Xiant's still in first place with 4,400 points, and I'm not trying to say he's bad. He's very new to this game. He's very new, and now he's in second place because this person, I assume, has just taken the lead. He's new to the game. These are mistakes that new players make. And again, part of the reason I made this video is because I don't understand how new players think, because I've been playing this since Revelations, since Brotherhood. So all of these, the ways that he's approaching things have been like so far removed from my mind. But I realize that a lot of new players don't see the things that experienced players see. Here we have Maxim. It appears teleporting. It appears that she has teleported somewhere over there. There's only 27 left on the clock, and he has to consider how he's going to use his throwing knives. We see here that Pocahontas, the independent, is clearly his pursuer. Now, if I were him, I would have knifed her so that she cannot kill me, right? But he waits way too long. He does not get the lock. I don't know if he locked on a Maxim and knifed her, but he could have just knifed the independent. She would fall off. She wouldn't be able to chase him, and then just run up on the roof and kill his target. So here, he didn't get the lock early enough, and I have to say lock early and often. You see your pursuer lock them. You see your target lock them, because you don't know what's going to happen next. You don't know what kind of crazy shit's going to happen, and you don't know when it's going to be hard to target them, when you're going to make a mistake. In this case, not locking cost him. And I could tell Xiant's frustrated here. 5 seconds left on the clock. He had lost first place so late in the game. He just kills a civilian because he's angry, and that's pretty much it. But ladies and gentlemen, I hope that by going into this in excruciating detail, second by second, to show, Xiant did have a lot of good moments. He did have smart approaches. He did have 2 kills that were very well executed, and I mean that pun, worth a lot of points. But, he didn't play defensively when he was in the lead, when he had multiple pursuers. He didn't put himself in a position where he could defend himself. He stood on rooftops at bad times. He stood in the open at times where there were duplicates that he could hide next to, or hay bales or other things he could hide in, and ultimately that cost him lives. And if he had just lived through those times, or gotten lures or gotten stuns instead of gotten killed, he would have had enough points to usurp Sursal and have first place at the end of the match, because there was only a 100-point difference. It was only 100 points difference. There are so many nuances to this game, and Assassin's Creed multiplayer is one of the deepest, most nuanced multiplayer games in the world, because this isn't like Call of Duty or Battlefield or Counter-Strike or Street Fighter. Nothing wrong against Street Fighter, but all I'm saying is in a lot of these games it's basically this person is your enemy, defeat them. All right, but in this game there's a lot of levels to it. It's like it isn't like Counter-Strike where you come around the corner, you see your target, and you kill them. And you put a bullet in their head. You can come around the corner and have no clue who your target is. You can come around the corner and think, maybe if I wait a little longer, I'll get more points for killing my target. You could see your target, but just think, maybe I should stun my pursuer first and then go after my target. Or you might just think, it's too dangerous to go after my target. I need to go hide and just lay low for a little bit, wait until my pursuers die from their pursuers, and then come back out and try to do this. There's so many layers to it. And Street Fighter is a bad example, because Street Fighter is one of the most layered games on earth. I really take that back. Anyway, everyone, I'm Wingspan TT from TopTierTactics.com. This is a totally different kind of video, but I really just want to break down the strategy, take the footage of a new player with their fresh eyes to the game, how their approach is to the game, and my experienced eyes. And again, I'm not the best player in the game, but I hope that Xiant, that you can learn something from this video, that you feel I'm not like just shitting on you, and that I'm honestly trying to give you good tips, and that everyone else at home, whether you're new or a little bit more experienced, that you can see some of the problems I saw and maybe either correct your own gameplay or share your own tips for Xiant in the comments below. So if you have your own comments, please let me know. If you like this style video, please let me know, and I guess I'll see what I can learn from all of you, and hopefully we'll all get better together. Anyway, I'm Wingspan TT from TopTierTactics.com. I'll see you next time. Cheers.